Do you know the story of Sleeping Beauty? A princess, a deep slumber, and a kiss of true love, or at least that's what you've been told. However, the origins of this tale are vastly different. There's no sweet magic, only cruel fate, dark secrets, and an awakening that no one should wish for. Are you ready to hear the true version? Once upon a time, in a grand kingdom, a king and queen finally received what they most desired, a daughter, the beautiful and delicate Talia. As in many ancient tales, the court astrologers were summoned to predict the child's future. But what they brought was not joy, but a dreadful warning. Talia was destined to meet her death because of a poisoned splinter from a common plant, flax. The queen, desperate, ordered that all flax be banned from the kingdom. There would be no clothes, threads, or any other object that could carry the curse. For years, the king and queen believed they had escaped this fate. Talia grew up to become a young woman of almost supernatural beauty. Yet, as with all inevitable tragedies, destiny found a way to fulfill itself. One day, while exploring an abandoned wing of the castle, Talia came upon an old woman spinning flax on her spinning wheel. Curious, she approached, enchanted by the rotating wheel, and asked to learn how to spin. As soon as she touched the spindle, a poisoned flax splinter pierced her finger, and she fell to the ground as if dead. The inconsolable king could not bear to bury his daughter. Instead, he ordered that Talia be placed in an isolated palace in the forest, laid on a bed of silk and gold, as if merely sleeping. Time passed, and the kingdom tried to forget its tragedy. But Talia's fate was far from concluded. In fact, it was just beginning. While Talia lay in her deep slumber, time in the outside world continued to pass. The palace where she rested became shrouded in legends, a place no one dared to visit, consumed by the forest that slowly devoured it. It was believed the site was cursed, protected by invisible forces. However, one day, a king from a distant land went hunting in those same dark woods. Following the trail of a deer, the king lost his way amidst the dense vegetation until he spotted, in the distance, the silhouette of a grand and decayed building. Curious, he entered the abandoned palace. Inside, every room seemed frozen in time. Dusty tapestries, tables set for banquets long forgotten. Eventually, he found Talia, lying on a magnificent bed, with translucent skin and a beauty that seemed unreal. He called out to her, shook her shoulders, but Talia did not awaken. Realizing he was utterly alone, something dark overtook the king. In Bazil's version, the tale is not kind here. The king, overcome with desire, committed a heinous act against the sleeping young woman. He left her there, still asleep, as if nothing had happened, and returned to his kingdom, forgetting what he had done. Talia remained in her slumber, but fate, cruel as ever, had more surprises in store for her. For although she was unconscious, something unexpected began to grow within her womb. She was pregnant. Months passed, and in the silence of the abandoned palace, Talia gave birth to not one, but two children, a boy and a girl. How this happened, no one could explain. The newborns, driven purely by instinct, survived by nursing from their unconscious mother. One day, while one of the babies sought Talia's breast, he accidentally sucked the finger where the poison flax splinter was still embedded. The venom was removed, and as if by a miracle, Talia awoke. Disoriented, she looked around and saw the two children beside her. Though surprised and frightened, something in her heart immediately recognized them as her children. Even without knowing how they had come into the world, Talia decided to explore the palace, trying to understand what had happened while she slept. However, the only company she found was that of her children and the empty echo of the halls. The young woman was alone with two children, living precariously, until one day destiny intervened again. The king, long having forgotten what he had done, was once again overcome with curiosity about the strange palace. He returned to that place and, to his surprise, found Talia awake, alive, and with two children who bore his features. Though ashamed, the king confessed what had happened. He did not expect to be met with anger, and perhaps due to naivety or the desire to protect her children, Talia accepted the king and listened to his promises of a future together. He swore to take her to his kingdom and provide her and the children with a dignified life. But he omitted one crucial detail. The king was already married to a jealous and cruel woman. When the king returned to his kingdom, he tried to keep Talia and the children a secret. But as in every dark tale, secrets have a way of escaping. The queen, an astute and suspicious woman, quickly noticed something was amiss. She realized the king spent long hours lost in thought and had changed his habits. One day, she pressured a trusted servant, extracting the truth about Talia and the two hidden children. Enraged, the queen decided to act. Her plan was cruel and calculated, revenge that would strike not only Talia, but also the king who had dared betray her. The queen sent a messenger to Talia's palace, disguised as someone sent by the king. The message was simple. Talia should bring her children to the king so the king could finally present them to the court. Naively, believing the king wished to reunite the family, Talia followed with the children. Upon arrival, however, Talia was met by the queen, who did not hesitate to reveal her intentions. The queen imprisoned Talia and ordered the royal cook to prepare a special banquet. The main course? Talia's own children. The queen, consumed by revenge, ordered the royal cook to kill the two children and prepare them for a banquet meant for the king himself. Serve them with the utmost refinement, she commanded, her eyes glinting with cold madness. The cook, however, was not as cruel as the queen. Though fearful for his life, he couldn't commit such an atrocity. Instead, he hid the children and prepared an elaborate dish of lamb to deceive the queen. Unaware of the substitution, the queen presented the banquet to the king. "This is a special dish, my lord," she said, smiling sinisterly as the king tasted the meal. "I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoy your honesty." The king, unaware of the hidden malice, praised the dish, commenting on its quality. The queen, satisfied, felt victorious, but her thirst for revenge was far from quenched. Meanwhile, Talia remained locked away, tormented by the thought that her children had killed. However, when the cook entered her cell, carrying the two little ones, her grief turned to relief and hope. She embraced her children and swore to protect them at all costs. But peace was fleeting. The queen was not done with Talia. Her next move would be even more brutal, a direct blow to the young woman who had unwittingly taken her place in the king's heart. After the fall banquet, the queen felt her vengeance was incomplete. It was Talia who most ignited her fury, the young woman who, even unintentionally, had stolen her husband and brought children into the world that were not hers. The queen decided that Talia's punishment must be exemplary, a spectacle to show the price of betrayal. "Prepare a great bonfire," the queen ordered her servants, "for I want to burn that woman before everyone." The announcement spread quickly through the castle, and the terrified subjects began assembling the pyre in the central courtyard. Talia was dragged out of her cell, with the children hidden by the cook in a safe place. As the guards dragged her to the bonfire, Talia tried to argue, to plead for her life, but the queen was deaf to her pleas. "You destroyed my life," she hissed. "Now you'll see what happens to those who defy a queen." The king, aware of what was happening, was alerted by his servants about the queen's plans. Enraged, he rushed to the yard, where he found Talia about to be thrown into the fire. He commanded the guards to stop immediately and demanded to know what was happening. The queen, overcome with her anger and insane conviction, revealed everything. Her discovery of Talia and the children, the plan to serve the king's offspring as a banquet, and her decision to utterly destroy the young woman. "And now he will die," the queen screamed, as she should have from the start. The king, horrified, realized he had allowed his wife, driven by jealousy and hatred, to go too far. But there remained a question. What would he do to save Talia and confront the queen? Before the crackling bonfire, king, filled with fury, turned to the queen. "You dared not only plot against the woman I love, but against my own children." The queen, now unmasked, gave him a cold smile. "Your children? Savored the banquet I prepared with such care. Do you really think they still exist?" For a moment, the king was overcome with horror, but the revelation didn't have the impact the queen expected. Before she could continue her accusations, the cook burst into the courtyard, carrying the two children in his arms. "Your Majesty, I could not do what was ordered." He placed the little ones on the ground, who ran into Talia's arms. The king's anger erupted like a storm. "You lied, schemed, and tried to destroy what little honor I had left. Now you will face the fate you planned for others." He ordered that the queen be thrown into the fire she herself had prepared. The woman screamed, thrashed, and cursed to the end. Her punishment was carried out mercilessly. As the sun rose, the king turned to Talia. He tried to ask for forgiveness, justifying that his weakness had allowed so many horrors to occur. But Talia did not respond. Though the queen's threat was gone, the scars of what had happened were too deep to forget. With the queen reduced to ashes and the immediate danger eliminated, the king turned to Talia, hoping to somehow make amends. He brought her and the children to the castle, offering her a place of honor by his side and promising to treat her as a queen. But Talia, though grateful for her survival, felt the weight of everything that had happened. She had never chosen this fate. She had been drawn into it from the moment she touched the cursed flax center. Her children were her only source of joy, but even they were reminders of the horrors she had endured while asleep. Even so, Talia decided to accept the king's offer, not out of love or ambition. It was for the safety of her children. She knew by staying by the king's side, she could protect them from any new threats. Over the years, Talia became a wise and respected queen, but her gaze never lost its trace of melancholy. As for the king, he lived with the weight of his guilt. Though Talia never directly accused him, he knew that everything had begun with his impulsive actions in the abandoned palace. He tried to be a good father and husband, but the shadow of his mistakes never fully left him. Thus, Talia's story did not end with the happily ever after of modern versions, but with a somber lesson about destiny, survival, and the marked task can leave.